Hello, welcome to this your channel on the better Eurofan. That's me. It seems that Austria is resuming its good path in the contest after having 2 consecutive qualifications. In this sense, the dynamic and danceable proposal presented by Colleen during last year's contest managed to convert the contest stage in an authentic rave party, although however it would not be that appreciated by the audience as expected, having to settle herself at the 24th place in the final ranking. Even so, the Central European country will keep its Eurovision appointment, expecting to improve its result on the next attempt. For this, we will see to the next artist that has took the baton from her by waving the Austrian colors in Basel. Here we go. For today's episode, I'm going to review the Austrian entry for Eurovision 2025, which has been represented by the singer JJ with the song Wasted Love. Before getting too sentimental, let's get to know more about this newcomer artist that is just starting to make a name for himself on the European musical scene. Without further delay, let's move on with the review. We start then checking out his biography and career prior to his Eurovision adventure in neighboring Switzerland. Johannes Spisch, mostly well known as JJ, is an Austrian operatic pop singer and songwriter coming from the Austrian capital, Vienna. Being born from an Austrian father and a Filipino mother, they will move to Dubai, United Arab Emirates, where he will get to know both pop from his maternal family through karaoke parties and opera from his paternal family, especially from his father. But musical genres will end up influencing the musical style he will develop in subsequent years. Thereafter, in 2016, he and his family will return back to Vienna, still being a teenager, and since his adulthood, he will start to take opera classes in the Vienna State Opera. In this sense, after his vocal audition, he will be classified as a countertenor, more specifically as a sopranist. For those who do not have it very clear, and explain it. While countertenors normally have vocal ranges similar to contralto and mezzo-soprano voices, sopranists can reach a vocal range similar to a soprano voice, which makes the gap voice type even much rarer and naturally uncommon in men. At the same time, with his opera studies, Johannes will start to get known as a performer by participating in the 9th season of the British version of The Voice after having expired the deadline to participate in the German version of the same singing competition in 2020. He will advance to the knockouts phase, having been mentored by rapper will.i.am, one of the members of the renowned American band Black Eyed Peas, and despite not reaching the final stages of the competition, he ended up being one of the most acclaimed and loved participants from that season. Then, during the following year, back in his native Austria, he will participate in the 5th season of the talent show Starmania, in which he managed to qualify for the first show of the final stage in that season. It is worth to stand out that Johannes will have casually coincided among his fellow participants with 2 singers that will be known shortly after. I'm talking in this case of Theodora Spisch and Selena Maria Edbauer, mostly well known as Teya and Selena, who represented the country 2 years ago during the edition held in Liverpool, United Kingdom. Teya will also advance to the final stage like Johannes, and becoming very good friends after their participation at the show. After finishing his opera studies, he will remain in the Vienna State Opera, but now to participate as a countertenor in the different operas produced by the company, while he continues his musical education in the Music and Arts University of the city of Vienna, being mentored by the renowned American soprano and opera teacher Linda Watson. Talking about his personal facet, Johannes is quite multilingual by speaking fluently German, English, Tagalog, and French, as well as some Arabic. This latter one naturally learned during the time he lived in Dubai. And he is openly gay, having actually a love relationship and having to go to become a voice for the LGBTI community in the country. He also considers himself a huge Eurovision fan since the victory of Conchita Wurst in 2013, during the edition held in Copenhagen, Denmark, who considers his idol and his inspiration. Taking note of the experience that both her and his friend Teya had at the contest, he will decide to take his first steps as a musical artist, adopting as his stage name the nickname that his closest friends often call him, looking at Eurovision as the best way to start with his career. Let's see then how he will end up representing the Central European country at the contest. Keeping the strategy from recent years, the Austrian public broadcaster will opt once again for an internal selection to search for both the artist and the song that would represent the country in neighboring Switzerland. For this, the submission period was open between early July and mid-September of last year for all the Austrian singers and songwriters who wanted to take part in the process, in which a songwriting camp was also organized in Vienna, with the goal of creating possible entries to be considered in that selection process. Then, a jury panel formed by national and international experts of the musical industry and the contest, as well as OGE club members from 5 countries and members from the broadcaster, will be in charge of shortlisting 8 entries after a live audition round in the broadcaster studios. It will be done in late last January when they will reveal the selection of JJ with his entry, although we will have to wait until early March for its premiere together with its accompanying official music video. When sometimes we do not receive the love we give. Now I'm going to analyze more in detail about this proposal with which he has presented at the contest, thus beginning his musical career. As expected, the melody is an operatic pop track that has a moderate rhythm throughout it, except for the final part in which it transitions to a more techno sound with a faster rhythm. About JJ's vocal abilities, what can I say? By being an active member at the Vienna State Opera for some years, certainly he has gained experience performing at stages. But by being himself a countertenor sopranist, I had to say that he has not only an impressive but a superhuman voice, and especially after being a quite rare voice type for a male performer. During the verses he uses the mezzo-soprano voice, while he uses the sopranic voice during the chorus and the outro, by precisely showcasing the wide vocal range he is capable to sing. Also during the outro, it is incorporated his sample voice together with some backing vocals that reinforce that epic character that has this part of the track. Regarding to lyrics, it has been written fully in English by JJ himself, together with other 2 Austrian songwriters, among them the aforementioned Teya, who returns to the competition after her previous participation at the contest, this time as a songwriter. It comes to attention in this case that, according to them, the song came out during their participation at the aforementioned songwriting camp, having written it in just 1 day. On the other hand, it is also to stand out that the song is his first official single as a musical artist, making his debut precisely with his participation at the contest. Talking about the contest behind it, he has commented that it is inspired in his own personal experiences with unrequited love during last year, describing the feeling as floating in a fragile paper ball on the sea that disintegrates. That, with a this representation of a naive devotion, he still sees as something undeniably beautiful, emphasizing with it that conflicting duality between pain and passion produced by that emotional imbalance. Regarding the lyrics with full detail, it can be impedance the context quite easily. The verses may cling on the lack of committing an effective responsibility from what it will be his partner that will eventually leave him as it is addressed later with the chorus, remaining just with his wasted love from here the song's title. The track transmits a quite intense emotional state, undoubtedly beyond transmitting a particular message, as it is usually this type of tracks about love sickness. In this sense, many of us have been through a similar situation with a partner in the past, so it can be perfectly understood what it feels to give it all in terms of feelings and affection without receiving it in a fair and mutual way with the emotional exhaustion that it entails. Having seen a little more about this emotional proposal, now we will see how he has intended to portray the contest described of it through the official music video. The plot begins in a sort of snowy forest where JJ is seen sitting next to a small pond while he performs the first verse and holding a paper boat as well. Matching with his own impressions about the song, it is noticeable that the paper boat will have an important role in the story he wants to tell through it, but let's see how it develops. In some moment, he puts the paperboard on the pond while he reclines his head against his leg, keeping a mournful expression in his face. And shortly after, there is a transition to the next scene, now seeing JJ in the middle of another forest where it is heavily raining. Then himself turning around to see the paperboard at a short distance and that now has a giant size. With the first chorus now, there are shots of JJ that is walking with difficulty through the trees until he manages to get to the giant paper boat. Again with this rainy atmosphere, he wanted to represent his feelings in a quite symbolic way, portraying the huge sadness he felt with the unrequited love from his partner by then. And the fact of hanging onto the paper boat is also very meaningful, by representing that wish he had by then to keep him on his side one way or another. That, as it is known, it is not a fully recommended scenario, especially when it is clear that the love relationship is going one-sided. Just before the second verse, a water avalanche is seen approaching to him at the paperboat in the forest. And then the scene changes, now seeing JJ on the paperboat that is sailing on a rough sea during a stormy night, hanging onto it the best he can. But shortly after, a big wave hits up the paperboat, making JJ to fall in the water with the second chorus, while he tries initially to stay afloat above the water while the pieces of the now broken paperboat are seen floating in the water. This is a very clear representation of what happens when the bond inside the relationship is not that strong enough. The most minimal setback can break that bond, tangible in the situation of danger and hopelessness that JJ is facing during the scene. At some point, JJ is no longer able to stay afloat in the water, then starting to sink little by little to the deep sea and drowning himself, expressing with this scene the pain and confusion he feels at the scene and how his relationship had ended without knowing what to do with all the love he offered to him. With the outro comes the climax of the performance and the rhythm change, that it is represented with a change of scenery, in which JJ is now seen floating in the air like he's slowly falling, while a group of people on a theater stage try to catch him, and there are some spotlights making a strong effect from the opposite side of the theater, in line with the frenzy dynamic during this part of the track. I will get that this part represents that supporting network, his friends and theater colleagues that appear around him after the love dissection suffered and trying to cheer her out and console him. At some point, all these people get to catch him out, holding him down little by little, maybe as an attempt from all of them to stay on his feet again. And towards the end of the music video, it goes back to the initial scene in the snowy forest, with JJ leaning on the ground next to the small pond, taking the paperboat that is broken and damaged inside of it, thus closing the performance. Before taking part at the contest, he had the opportunity to join his voice with Conchita Wurst to perform a mashup of their two entries at the contest, Rise Like a Phoenix and Wasted Love, as part of the series Eurovision A Little Bit More. I can imagine that this has been a great honor for him to be able not only to know his idol in person, but also making a duo with her, and the truth is that hearing their voices together is very impactful and gives you goosebumps from head to toe. Sometime after, like his fellow contestants, he has been presenting his proposal live in many of the Eurovision pre-parties of the season, performing in this case an extended version of the track with the techno part of the outro being a little longer, showcasing his wide vocal skills live and impressing more than one person, then shaping up himself as one of the big favorites ahead of his participation. For the staging in Basel, it could be seen during the first rehearsals that there would be a sort of boat prop made with bracelet, crates, books, and an old transistor, all of them piled up, with a wooden mask and a white sail from where JJ stands during all the performance, also appearing in the paperboat that of course it could not be missed. About the costume, JJ wears a full black denim outfit, the lighting is mostly white, there is white smoke on the stage floor, and the visual graphics seem to be not that outstanding from what it could be seen. Watching his live performance in the second semi-final, it begins with close-ups of JJ performing the track singing on the boat, having a white blanket on him with a camping lamp next to him. It is to stand out that the image is shown in black and white during all the performance, that could be seen risky initially, but it has its own symbolism. In some moment, the paperboat appears floating in the air, with JJ trying to catch it with his hanger, but then that boat dodges his hanger by floating in the opposite direction to him. The paperboat disappears from sight, and then JJ takes off the blanket to get out of just before the first chorus, while the wooden mass is lifting up together with the white sail, and there is imagery outlining in a stormy and dark night in the visual graphics. With the second numbers, JJ takes the camping line and hangs it on the mast, with the sail unfolding throughout the magazine and later imagery of a Rusi the visual graphics like in the music video. And shortly after in the second chorus, this scene is reinforced with oscillating movements from the camera, a wind machine, and JJ making a sort of choreography symbolizing the depiction of a paper ball in the middle of the Rusi from the music video. To later hang on to the mast while he has a vocal extravaganza moment. Shortly before the song's outro with a change of rhythm, the paper ball reappears again floating towards JJ that catches up in some moment to later crush it and crumple it with his hand, and then showing expressions of confusion and frustration right after. All this while the visual graphics are now showing a stormy rain on the scene which is Ruga, adding strobe lights that amplify the chaotic environment that it is observed, including a shot from above with JJ laying down on the boat. I guess we wanted to portray with that the emotional collapse he suffers like a boat drifting away. Shortly after he stands up again and moving to one of the edges of the boat while he performs the final part, while at the same time the chaotic and stormy environment dissipates with many lighthouses appearing in the visual graphics until the end of the performance. After having seen this performance, I have been quite surprised. I think that he has represented in a quite attractive and concise way all those feelings narrated with the lyrics. While the music video has been very well produced, it also was staging as well, which together with that powerful voice he showed up live, he has absolutely a candidate for everything. I did not have any doubts that he will qualify to the grand final in his condition of favorite, and eventually it has been. Time after during the grand final, there was a lot of tension during the reveal of the voting results. In one hand, the jury got fascinated with his performance, having gathered very high scores from many of the participating countries that would place him first initially. But it was about to be seen what would happen with the televote, taking into account that there were other entries that were also big favorites and that made a strong impression during the season, being the cases of Estonia, France, Finland, and Sweden, so the final outcome was not very clear yet. At the time of the truth, being JJ the last finalist to get to know the score received from the public, he will place 4th for the televote, even so earning the points needed to settle in the first place, thus gaining subsequently the victory at the contest in Basel. Summarizing all what I have commented so far, the Austrian entry for this year is undoubtedly very outstanding and magnificent. Personally, it was none of my favorites for the edition, and I thought I recognized both its musical and vocal quality. In addition that it was one of the most well-done proposals presented in the edition, I didn't see quite clear as a winning entry, taking into account that it does not usually happen that the musical genre from the previous winner reprises in the following edition, and I was not the only one who thought the same. But beyond my personal take, the proposal was very acclaimed overall. That was evident with the increase in favoritism during all the season, and accomplishing precisely with that condition of favorite, he will take the crystal microphone for the Alpine nation that has been very well deserved. The final result has supposed a third win for Austria in the competition, equaling the same number of victories of Denmark, Italy, Norway, Ukraine, and host Switzerland, from which many things stand out. It is the second consecutive year in which a song with the operatic part wins the contest, after the one from Nemo during the last edition in Malmö, Sweden, that probably could boost a higher trend for entries in this genre with more frequency in future editions. At the same time, it is a victory for Teija as a co-author for the track, joining the list of previous participants that are featured in a winning song of the contest after having done it as a performance. JJ will be the first winning artist of the contest with Southeast Asian descent, being also the first winner born in the new century, and recording his winning song in addition to top the musical charts in his native Austria, he will do it as well in Greece, also reaching very high positions in the musical charts of many European countries. Undoubtedly, his time at the contest has supposed the beginning of a brilliant musical career for him, and what a way to do so, embarking himself in a promotional tour by many European countries after his victory in Basel, visiting cities in his native Austria, France, Netherlands and Finland, having also special appearances in the LGBTI Pride concerts in last June that were organized both in his hometown and Madrid, Spain. Recently, he has released 2 more singles since his victory at the contest, and he is also working in much more tracks that would eventually take part of his debut studio album, predictably to be released on next year, so we will have to stay tuned for what the most recent Eurovision winner has to offer. This has been the Austrian proposal of this year for the contest. What do you think about it? Do you think that he has been a fair and deserved winner, or do you think that another one could have taken the crystal microphone instead? In any case, come on and leave your comments down below. I'm sure that the discussion will be quite interesting. And this is it for today's episode. With the winning country of this year, we've finished this series, having reviewed the 36 other artists that have participated in the edition that has been held in Basel on last May. For the next episode, we will start a new series very soon, so I suggest you to stay tuned. In the meanwhile, don't forget to like this video, having with this your support so it can be spread among more people. Subscribe to my channel, enable notifications, by the bell, and follow me through my social media. Take care and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.